We have Jeff Griffith, Martha, I can't, last name.
Kerrigan.
Kerrigan, Martha Kerrigan, and
Amanda Betts.
Amanda Betts. So what I thought we would do is first, we got profiles for each of the folks here, and they'll just, we'll scroll through these just so you have a little idea about their backgrounds, where they've been, what they're doing now, and so give an idea about what they'll be able to talk about. So we'll start with Martha from
Big Shoes Network. You want me to give my own profile?
Well, just
A little blurb.
maybe accent what's up there.
Oh, okay. My company is a niche job board and internship posting site for Wisconsin, Illinois, and Minnesota. And clients pay us to post their job opportunities in public relations, communications, social media, marketing, advertising, web, graphic design. Been doing it for 12 years. Love helping students.
Okay. Jeff Griffith.
Me. Hi, I'm Jeff Griffith. I am creative director in advertising, marketing, and I lived in I graduated in '87. First job was at an ad agency in Honolulu. Then I moved to Atlanta, and then I moved to New York, and I was there for 26 years. Worked at a variety of agencies, big and small. I should say massively huge, global, and then tiny mom and pop shops. And then in 2010, I went to Men's Health magazine, and I was creative director of integrated marketing and advertising there. And 2 years ago, moved for love and reconnected with my girlfriend from college, and we got married 2 months ago. So now I'm living in Minneapolis. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Amanda.
I'm sorry, I'm assuming I'm next. Order of operations. So Amanda Betts. I am a journalism alum here. Advertising public relations was an older program than what you guys are exposed to now. And I did all of my classes, I think, in the basement of Clo. So just take a moment and appreciate those windows because we didn't get to see light back in the day.
We had none of those.
No. For the last 9 years, I've been running a marketing agency that's based here in the Valley, digital marketing, and I grew that company and my role to being part owner and sales marketing director. But I wasn't done growing. I wasn't done learning. And so I decided to take a leap of faith, move back home to the Milwaukee area, and join corporate. I wanted to join corporate, but then I joined super corporate, Manpower Group. So global third largest in staffing, Fortune 500, global 2000 company. So talk about from a small mom pop agency to going into the very, very deep end, learning fast. In truth, I will say one thing. A lot of that has to do with connections. I first learned of Big Shoes Network when I was an intern at EAA many moons ago. Amazing PR internship, by the way. Organized chaos at its finest. Really perfected my AP writing. My boss there, Dick Knapinski, is like, have you ever heard of Big Shoes? I got to know Martha, actually then over the span of agency life. Our paths crossed many times, and she actually helped me put into connection with Manpower Group, which led to my role that I have now, overseeing Manpower Group for North America, so US and Canada roll up into me, and we have 4 core brands of lines of business and the Manpower Group brand itself. So yeah.
Great. And I don't have a panel up here, but because I'm not on that panel, but I came through the program in 86 and 87. My undergrad was in radio, TV, film, and second major in religious studies with a business minor. And I've worked for the past couple of decades in corporate as well as agency environments, a lot of business work, and so a nice opportunity to be in both PR as well as marketing, different types of brands, and so it covers a pretty wide swath, and it's been it's nice being able to look at what I came through in the program and have the opportunity to utilize the things I was exposed to here on a daily basis and expand, those things that I learned here. So it's been a real plus. So and it's been a great program for that for me. So hopefully you experience the same thing. So okay, just to start off with, I'd like to ask the panel. Jeff, we can start with you.
Okay.
But from a because you're on the end.
Okay.
Just share your perspective about some of the maybe the top 2 key things that you took away from the program as you stepped off into your career.
I would say I would say number one thing is being meticulous. It's definitely one thing I learned. I was an advertising PR major. I remember Harvey Jacobson, we did a resume project, and he would mark you down a half grade for every typo. And you think about it now and be like, wow, what a jerk, and it's like, but it really forced you to pay attention. And you can limp through school and be like, okay, well, I just need a degree. Or you can really dive in head first and accept it. And at the time, you're kind of like, you're being kind of jerky, Harvey. But it really helps you down the road when you're looking through stuff for corporations or your clients, and somebody goes, why on earth is there a typo in the middle of my press release? Why on earth is there a typo on my corporate booklet that I just printed 10,000 copies of or 200,000 copies of? It really forces you to pay attention. And that's real, because you're not going to go down a half a grade in the real world. You're going to get your ass handed to you in the real world if they find a typo or there's a problem and a misspelling. So for me, being meticulous is just number one. I don't know if I have two. I'm sure I'll think of it along the way, but that would be my number one thing that I got out of the program.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't go here, but I did go to UW-Milwaukee, and my degree was in communication. And there's the baseline skills that you just have to have in this industry, which is good AP writing skills and preferably oral, verbal skills, as I'm showing right now. But what will differentiate you and keep you throughout your career is a curiosity. When I was in school, I worked in the library, and all these old books would come in that I would have to research the origins of. And so I had to dive deep on mainframe computer systems, and that curiosity helped me to find the next two jobs that I had. And we just came from Women in Manufacturing, big presentation put on by Manpower and Rockwell. And that came up as one of the number one skill sets that you'll have to have throughout the rest of your career is curiosity.
So for me, when I was a student here, upon graduation was the thick of the recession. So that's a real energizing time when literally your professors are prepping you to move back home. Sounds extreme, but literally there were some one-on-one conversations that were really honest, because the reality is in this small footprint of the state, there's a lot of university, a lot of people graduating at the same time, all vying for jobs that no longer were existing at the time. So I think where I was being challenged is how are you going to be adaptable to any circumstance you're put into? And I feel like that was a skill set that I made sure that I had some good mentors here on campus, some professors who are no longer here because they've retired, and some that are still here, that really kind of instilled the fact of what are you going to do to be adaptable to the circumstances given to you. And I'm glad that they did that. They challenged me. So I had a number of sorted internships. I worked for admissions. I was a tour guide. I worked for the AT. Great way to perfect your writing. We were award winning back then. I think they just won an award recently. I also milked cows. True story. Straight cash, $10 an hour during the winter. That was fun. So I made sure that I was always diversifying my skill set to be adaptable in any circumstance that was handed to me. And that's really played a big part of my career thus far. And I still feel like I'm in the beginning parts of my career. But the ability for me to be more open to saying yes than I'm saying no allows me to experience some pretty incredible things. So I'd say adaptability is huge. And I see that amongst even the team that I have now. I have folks on my team that are ranging in their career from age 24 to 55 in different parts of what they're doing. And that's the same conversations I have with them in terms of where are we willing to change and modify what we think we're good at, or ability to change based on what the company needs. And adaptability is huge. Never think that you're settled, because once you do, something's going to break. So that's my advice.
Okay, great. I'd like to add to that as well that what's interesting is oftentimes when you work, inside a company or have clients, if you're in an agency environment, while you're creating stuff that has to go out there, sometimes part of your role is to keep people from making bad decisions. So it's you have a client who wants to do something that is like not going to be appropriate for say local media or a trade publication or something, or how do you counsel your boss, and you know, you may not want to do that, and here's why you don't want to do it. So looking for those opportunities where you can leverage your expertise, your experience, and your perspective, and you know, and help people be better at what they do. That's part of what we do, because a lot of times our name is not on things. You know, we don't get a lot of bylines. You know, if you're working in PR, it's other people, and I kind of make the reference that no one's ever asked me to make them sound dumber. So you take the responsibility to, you know, create an identity for people, or to push their identity and make them be better at what they do and how they present themselves, and then how that reflects back to the company. You know, so that's part of our role as well. So, but okay, Jeff, let's go back to you. Are you satisfied with your career?
Yes, I actually love my career. I love what I do. I worked in ad agencies most of my career. In fact, I had freelanced for about 14 years, kind of in a chunk of the last 31 years, and I worked at over 40 different companies, and that was pretty incredible to see the inner workings of different ad agencies and different companies, and you realize how dysfunctional many companies are. But the good ones are the ones that inspire you. And I realized, I mean, I worked at Men's Health magazine, and that was actually a phenomenal experience. I had incredible bosses, and I thought, well, I never would want to be outside the office environment. And then I started doing stuff on my own, working from home. I was like, I love this. This is fantastic, you know. And now I get to kind of pick and choose the clients I want to work on, and the work I want to do. You know, it's not always easy. I mean, we were just in the last panel talking about starting your own company or being your own boss, and it is difficult, but I love what I do. I still love the business.
Yeah, the business itself.
Yeah,
that's
I love
great.
it. I think it's great. It's energetic. It's fantastic.
I think that's a product of personality. The sign for satisfaction is this in American Sign Language, and half of it's cutting you off and the other half of it's pushing you forward. And I have a magnet on my refrigerator that says "Let go or be dragged," because I'm the kind of personality that it's always better where I was, or always better where I'm going. And I love what I do, but I want to look ahead to the next thing. So yes, I like and love what I do, but I'm not 100% satisfied, because that's just my product of personality. But I am 100% grateful. I'm just so grateful. I get to have my own business. Do you know how many countries in the world it's almost impossible to have your own business, and you can start it up like that in the United States. And I'm a woman and I have my own business. Try that in another country around the world. So not 100% satisfied, yes, 100% grateful, and I do like what I do.
That's a great response, because I'm thinking, I'm not done, so I don't know how to answer that question completely, but the reality is I regret nothing. I feel like life is a series of decisions, and you have to own your decisions. So to say that I'm not happy, that means I made a decision along the way that I didn't necessarily felt like I owned. But I'm confident knowing that I made those decisions best either for myself or for my family, and I'm excited where things continue to roll forward, but I'm also not done. So that comment of I'm not quite satisfied is fair. But I'm happy with my career, because it's something that I feel like I've carved my way. In that same Women in Manufacturing event that Martha and I attended, there was a lot of comment around just because there isn't a door doesn't mean you don't make a doorway. I think that's very true for a lot of career development. If we're waiting around for something to be handed to us, then you'll be waiting for a while, or you'll continuously be dissatisfied. So if there's not an opportunity, then ask for it. If there isn't something that's clear in front of you, then make it. And I think that's easier said than done, but finding mentors and those around you that have established that path helps motivate you moving forward. So I say I'm happy with my career, but it's also just the beginning. That's how I view it.
That's a good point about the looking for mentors, and I did this a lot when I graduated, even before I graduated, reaching out to people, professionals, and just asking for a little bit of their time, 15 minutes or something, and just trying to get an informational interview, a chance to sit down and talk with them about, what my interests were, how their careers went, and just looking for kind of an objective sense of guidance on the coursework, interests, and all that kind of a thing. So, I mean, as you guys have looked back at your careers, I mean, what none of you are saying is I've arrived, and I can't go anywhere else. I'm at the pinnacle or whatever. But it's an evolutionary process,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's it's like every day's another day, kind of a thing. So whether it's a new client or furthering your relationship with clients or your own company,
Yes.
that kind of your employer or your own company.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll find when you're out there, you're never going to find that perfect situation. So, can you create a situation that you love and enjoy? I've worked at agencies where the boss is a jerk, but the coworkers are amazing, or the work you're working on is fantastic, but you don't like the environment. So it's kind of like how do you find that balance? Where do you find that balance? What makes you feel successful? Is it I'm happy because I'm making a ton of money, or I'm happy because I'm doing work that I want to work with, or I'm happy because it allows me flexibility because I have kids or a family, or like you kind of have to figure out what is it that you say, okay, I feel like I'm doing okay. I feel I'm all right. I don't know. That's my ramblings.
That's fair enough. I mean, when I worked in agencies, the perspective was we're only as good as the last thing we did for them.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you work with a client for 6 months or you work with a client for 16 years, you can't take any of that stuff for granted. So it's always looking for those opportunities to be better at what you do, make the client better at what they do, and that's what they hire you to do. That's what your role is. So, the agency stuff is great. I mean, that's fun, and that's or having your own business, the same thing. And you've been on both sides of that. So it's that's the plus with all of this. The stuff that we do is there's so many places for us to land as you think about what you want to do, where you want to be, and what kind of role you can play. There's so many spots for you to land and to try out. This feels good. This doesn't feel good, and that's the I think a good way to look at it. I always said I never felt like I can't go any place beyond this. I have to work in this environment, kind of a thing, and none of you guys are saying that, which is awesome. So.
Well, I think too, it's like when you graduate from school, you kind of think, well, this is what I'm going to do. And then you realize you're like going, I'm all over the boat. I didn't plan on landing there, but now I'm going to come back over here. It's like, and you just got to figure out, like, what does it make me happy? Does it not make me happy? I mean, if you had said to me out of school, you're going to be working at a magazine and head of advertising no, never. Like I knew exactly where I was going to go. That doesn't happen. Not because I couldn't do it, but just because that's just not how life worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything for any of you that made you think early on that I'm going in the right direction? This has been a good decision, and I like what's happening.
Sure.
Thanks, fair. It's also kind of a loaded question.
Not the absolute epiphany kind of a thing, but it's like, well, I can see myself doing this for a while.
I think for me personally, so I recession time, right? So I had a great time at EAA to the point that they wanted to extend, and I went into the EAA PR internship assuming that my career was going to be international PR. I was fluent in Spanish. My degree was in PR. I'm like, I'm going to conquer the world. Let's do this. And I got into that EAA bubble, Experimental Aircraft Association, for those who don't know what I'm saying. It was great, but it was so one note. I discovered in myself that I wasn't ready necessarily for that corporate structure. My focus was so refined because I was also scatterbrained and wanting to explore everything. And so then I dipped my toe into the agency pond to determine, is that the path for me? And that wasn't something leading up until I graduated, that was not at all what I was thinking I was going to do. But that internship kind of opened my eyes to maybe I do need to try something differently. So when I got that taste of agency life, which is like this beautiful mix of chaos and drama and a reward and satisfaction, that I loved it. I love the fact that every single day I'm dealing with a multitude of different personalities and things and topics and projects, and I was helping to grow something, and that was great. And it's not that I got burned out after 9 years, it's that I finally got to a state of maturity where I wanted to focus and hone in on something and be more directive in my outwork of my look. So I went back to that corporate bubble. But I'm happy that I made that change and that risk because it allowed me to explore something. So now I can confidently say I can do both. So that allows me to have more options and opinions of going forward with the work that I choose to explore, because I can say that I've had both sides of that fence. So I was really happy to make that internal decision to try something different, and it worked out. And if it didn't, I could have tried something else. But I think that answers your question a little bit in terms of being content.
With where you are in your career now, looking back, are there 2 or 3 additional traits that, mandatory for success beyond what you've already touched on, that it's it's the price for, to admission. It's, you have to have it. If you don't, then don't go any further.
I probably have one, if you don't mind me starting, just because it's on top of my mind. There's probably one technical one and more just like life learning, I guess. The life learning one is be comfortable with leaning into discomfort, because that discomfort causes change. Especially in the world of marketing and journalism and that whole bubble, there is no consistency factor in your life or your career. It's just because it's a continuously evolving bubble of stuff. So I'm always one for learn to embrace the challenge, because that's where growth happens, and growth can lead to all sorts of opportunities. And more the technical, hone in on your writing. So I'm a journalism major, but now I'm running marketing. I'm not a marketing major. Ironically, my husband is a marketing major from this university, and he is an HR generalist. He didn't go to HR career. So kind of the comment before is your career kind of dictates itself. But the reality is writing is what got me where I was. I was able to write proficiently, not from an AP style, which I could do, but just even from a creative standpoint, I was able to do in a succinct grammar sort of way. I challenged myself, and I wasn't sure I was getting out, so that's why I took the AT position, because I wanted to be a writer and have somebody else editing my stuff. Then I chose to be an editor. Then I took a class with Miles McGuire. Is he still around?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does he still like mark up your papers like murder? I've been there. But I appreciate that now, to the point. Does he give out bonus credit if you find in like publications typos? Oh yeah, me and my cohort, Melanie Cross, we were like the top leading people to do that. I wanted to get 102% in that class, but that's like still in me. Like I feel like when I find a typo, I'm like, ha! I don't get bonus points anymore, but I wish for life or something.
You're looking for somebody.
Yeah, someone give me a sticker.
Hey, this is good,
But honestly, writing, perfecting that skill set is something that would put you by and large over, I hate to say it, for anyone who's in this room, like business students even. Like that's not crafted in that same sense, but the ability to switch on the AP style and that creative style is something that I value for myself, the people that I hire, the teams that I've worked with. Patty's in this room. I'm sure that you can speak to that. Writing by design. Writing's important.
Oh, yes.
So that's my 2.
Okay. Martha?
It's kind of along the same lines. A hard to measure skill is tenacity. Just never giving up, just tenacity. And I'll give a description of that. And then coupling that with, it goes to that curiosity thing, but look what is next in an analytics or in a technical skill set. What's next, what's around the bend, and challenge yourself to learn it. I'm not going to tell you my age, but I'm older than everybody in this room, pretty much. And well, close to it. It feels that way sometimes, but I don't feel that way all the time. And you would think you'd get a chance, you get a break from learning new technical stuff, and it doesn't happen that way. So right now, and you can do it for free, or you can do it online, or there's lots of different ways. So not too long ago, I got a certificate in integrated marketing from DePaul University, and I'm always either the woman or the oldest or the youngest in the room kind of thing, and I was by far the oldest there, but it pushed me to learn what's around the bend when it comes to marketing and auctioning ad space and all the technical part of that. Right now, I'm kind of going through death by online PowerPoint because I'm going through a social media certification through HubSpot. I know what CRM is, but I wanted to learn it specific to HubSpot, and it's because our clients are looking for that. So that technical, always try and learn something that you don't know in a technical capacity.
Explain what CRM is.
customer relationship management is a software program that helps you
Manage
manage customers and contacts through the whole funnel from when you their first touch with your company all the way through when you get a sale and how do you keep them. And I didn't think I knew that, but that was one of the first programs that we purchased when I was at Manpower. It was really early on. That they didn't call it that back then, but so anyway, so that technical skill set and then tenacity. And I'm just going to be really honest here because I would love to look super cool to all of you and like she's this high-powered marketing person. But when we started our company, it was in 2006, and it was a digital, like companies pay us to post their jobs. Well, then the recession hit in 2008. And at my dad's funeral, his obituary, the person giving the eulogy said, and we're really worried about Martha up here in heaven because her job is sorely tenuous. So, and it was. So from a tenacity perspective, we kept our company going. We were in the black even through the recession. And hiring is the first thing that goes when it comes to a recession.
That was marketing.
Well, in any capacity. But the way I kept it going was by asking for help. And in the morning, I would get up super early. And I got paid to be our kids' lunchroom coordinator. So I'm going to write a blog under the hairnet someday and talk about that experience. Then I would change clothes and go upstairs to the high school, and I was the college guidance advisor for 4 hours a day in that same school, and I got paid for that. And it was those funds that helped pay our bills while we were doing this business. And then I would change into a business suit, hop on a train, and go down to Chicago to a professional event to talk about our business and make connections. And so I didn't think that was tenacity. I just was afraid and wanted to survive. But so that you might be asked to wear a lot of different hats and be tenacious, and all three of those experiences really helped our business today in some way or another. So tenacity and learning that next digital skill set.
Great. I would say I'll try to list what I can remember in my head as I'm listening to the two of you. Be a sponge, absorb it all. Take it all in. Movies, music, television, conversations that people are having. What is the advertising that's happening now? What's going on in the journalism world? What's going on in the PR world? What's happening in society? What kind of typefaces are being used? What kind of colors are popular? What are the shows that people are watching? What are people paying attention to? Be a sponge. Everything you absorb is going to be used at some point in time. Okay? Other thing is, to your point, do whatever it takes to do the job. And I had my publisher at Men's Health wrote a letter of recommendation for me. And it was like the kindest letter. And he said, Jeff is willing to do anything that is necessary for the business. And what he meant was, hey, if we got a bunch of boxes that need to go downstairs because we've got an event, Jeff is there, he's going to pick up the box. I'm a creative director of integrated marketing and advertising. Big, long title. Oh, that's lovely. But hey, we got to get the job done. We got boxes. We got to carry them. Do it. Do whatever it takes, especially when you just graduate. Do whatever it takes. That's what's going to get you noticed. That's what people are going to pay attention to. Oh, yeah, so-and-so. Oh, they're willing to do anything, anything I throw at them, they're willing to do it. And those are just two huge, important things. Learn how to spell. Boy, that is massive. That is massive. We are so lazy with autocorrect. Yeah. So lazy. I mean, now new Gmail has it suggests what you're going to say. Like, shut up. No, that's not what I want to say. This is, that's so. You need to learn how to spell. I think we've become very lazy. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it's an internet. It's going to go up on the internet. I can change it in 30 seconds if I find the typo. No, you get it right. You do it right the first time. The other thing is learning how to speak, learning how to present. Being a little mouse in an office, in an agency, whether it be small or whether it be big, you're not going to get noticed. You're not going to advance. Learn how to speak. The toughest interview question is, tell me about yourself.
Yes.
well, I don't. Well, let's see. I was born in like. No, you need to be able to speak very clearly and get your idea across. I mean, we're all in a creative field, right? So you need to be able to say, this is what I need to do. This is what I think that the client should do. This is what I think you should do as the client. And here are my ideas. And you need to be able to hone that stuff. It's really important. Do it while you're in school. Get the internships. Learn those traits. So when you graduate, you're not like, surprise, right? Learn them now. It's really important. Sorry.
No, that's
Rambling.
not a sorry.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
great. What I just heard a guy, a friend, and he said, you want to be the guy or the gal that's like, what now? Exclamation point, not
Love
what
that.
now? What now? You know, like, I don't want to do those boxes. Well, yeah. Mhm.
I think too that the thing that to Jeff's point about it's about being proactive. We've all had experiences with those people who they don't say it but they're implying that's not my job, kind of thing, that mentality, and those people are literally a pain in the ass. They just really stop you and others from getting things done. And at the end of the day, you have to get things done. And I've never asked anybody, wherever they are in the hierarchy, to do something that I've not done. Whether it's picking up boxes and moving stuff, or whether it's jumping in on a special event organization thing or whatever, it doesn't matter. Or, you know what, I just saw this email that's going around for review, and this is really a piece of garbage. And I need to take this. I need to take it and make it better, and either help the client or help the company. The other part of that is understanding, strategically what has to be accomplished. So when you think about assignments and responsibilities, how can you work within the confines of what needs to be said, how does it need to be said, or what is the end result that we're trying to get. So as a recent graduate, you can come in and talk about helping take people through that process of point A to point B. You talked about CRM before. The customer journey. What are the touch points, and what are the messages along that, and how can you influence based on that. So understanding how all this fits in the context of the strategy, the positioning, that's real key as well. So.
One thing I was also going to say is there's always more to the story. When you think you know what's going on in an office, or you think there's a decision that comes down and they're like, oh, they killed my story, or they killed my ad, there's always more to the story. You don't know the whole story, and you were not behind closed doors. You were not a part of the conversations, especially starting out. You might think the world is going against you. It's all happening behind the door, and there could be decisions made financially, or there could be decisions based on the client, or we don't want this to be said, or whatever it is. But just know that certainly in the first 10 years of your career, there's going to be so many decisions that are made outside of your little world that have nothing to do with you. So you really can't take it personally as you get out into the world. And again, that's why I say internships are so huge, to be a part of a work environment, working with other people, like you were saying about like interacting with other people, and what it's like to have your work killed, or like you're working at the AT and like people are ripping apart your stories, and like you can't take it personally. You just can't.
We've got a little bit of time left, so I'd like to open it up for some questions from you guys. Go ahead.
A question targeted towards Jeff, because he had stated something about meticulousness.
Yes.
This may work, be applicable for all of you. That's something I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of other students struggle with as well, is the balance between a deadline and meticulousness. Is really just wanting to be perfect and right and great, and then not really accepting that time frame. What's that number one way you find yourself, especially because you run your own business, that I I know it's going to be great, even if it's not what I know it could be its best. Just knowing what to put out.
Well, you have to let go at a certain point. I mean, is it meticulous for me or is it meticulous for the client? Like, I want it a certain way and I want it presented a certain way, but is the client expecting that, or is that just, is it just because my own OCD that I'm like, like that kerning really stinks, and I really wish the video was cut this way. Is that going to really matter at the end? Like what matters? What's important? Like, I've had clients who are like, I hate the color red. I don't want to ever see the color red. Well, if the color red is in there, it's pretty dumb. You're pretty stupid. That's meticulous. I need to make sure that the color red's not in there, right? But that's not me going, I wish there was less red.
I would say some of that anxiety between the two gets better as you mature more in your career. I think there's always the underlying need to serve, especially in the agency standpoint for your client. But you actually start learning yourself at a subconscious level you don't realize. You start getting better at things the more that you have ups and downs. When you're rewarded on your successes and called out on the misses, you get better with time just because those experiences craft your skill. So yeah, that natural anxiety comes up because we all want to do right. As you're fresh in your career, you just want to do everything right and everything good. But there's going to be times where, guess what? Not to keep talking about EA, I had that moment leading up to AirVenture, which is insanely fun, but running it from a PR and international PR standpoint, it's chaos. I'm cranking out press releases left and right to the point of I was doing really good. I wasn't getting any feedback. I'm like, I'm killing this. I'm getting all my press releases done. We're talking like 20 a day. Until I get called into the office by Dick Napinski, and Dick now is like the leader of all communications. At the time, he was just the director. And he's like, Amanda, I want you to read the press release you just wrote. I read it out loud really quick. He's like, no, read it again. And my headline was, a predator is coming to AirVenture. The Predator, by the way, was the name of it's the U.S. border autopilot drone.
Yeah.
I was trying to play like a whole play like dinosaur, and no. So there'll be moments where you think you're doing great, and someone's stopping you in tracks, and that moment, right? You have to be careful. So honestly, it gets better. I mean, there's going to always be some setbacks, but I would say just learn to listen to yourself, learn to like take from some learnings and grow from it, because that anxiety of the between the two will get better. So
I'm like you. I'm not a weird bag lady, but I like to reward people who ask questions. And so you, sir, are going to be filling big
Nice.
shoes. So you have a pair of socks coming to you. Woohoo!
that was a good
Wow.
question too.
I used to do flip flops, but they're like doink, off your head.
There's a t-shirt gun or something.
Yeah, boom. There's a big difference between following the bottom line instructions that a client or a boss gives you and being afraid of making a mistake. One will cause you to freeze up, and the other is just your marching orders. And so it's that balance.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all I'm going to say.
That was a good question.
Here's your socks, ma'am. Oops.
Don't want to hit your head.
Yeah.
Or moving boxes, like you said, like don't be afraid to do whatever it takes. So can you each kind of go through an example, like from your past experience when you've kind of taken that risk or went into that discomfort and it paid off for you?
I think mine's probably really recent. So I know I have a couple clients in the room, so I hope you guys know I loved you guys and don't take it personally. But the change for me that took place literally this time last year was the decision of I wanted to keep growing, I wanted to keep expanding in my skill set, but I wasn't getting that where I was. So I made that decision to literally go from a position where in 2 months' time I was going to be signing ownership documents. And I went from, I'm not done growing. That's not what I'm going to make me happy. And I changed everything. I didn't just change my job. I changed my career. I moved. I sold my house. I moved cities. It was significant. It wasn't just I'm going to try another job. I altered mine and my husband's lives as a result of me wanting to expand more. And I haven't looked back. I'm very thankful for that risk. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't. There were some tearful nights and panic modes of what the hell am I doing? we're going to live in a ditch. This is the worst decision ever. I went on some of the weirdest job interviews, you guys. I swear to God, if we went and got some drinks, I'd tell you, because it was traumatic, some of them. To where I ended up, it's sometimes I'll pinch myself, but it came with work and it came with struggle and willing. I had a good support system to make those changes, but it has paid off, because in the last 10, 11 months, I've traveled to 5 different countries. I've been to all the major cities in the United States and Canada. I've met some of the most incredible people. I've explored and done things I never got to do yet in my career, so I'm so thankful for it. But there's, like I said, you have to lean into that discomfort in order to grow. That's probably the most recent. So it's not things from years ago. It's within the last 11 months. So.
I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to start a company. It was very accidental. And so making the decision to actually, yes, I'm going to start a company. What pushed us to do that was we had been doing, emailing and sharing job opportunities that we heard about within our community, and that grew and grew and grew. And pretty soon 2 media outlets wanted to do a story on our business. And I'm like, what business? So we had to come up with a name and come up with a website and all of that in a really short period of time. And we just did it because I love helping people. It just is such a passion, helping people, connect them to opportunities. So that we took that chance, and I started it, and we were in the black in 4 months. So we took all our savings, poured it into starting it. We're in the black in 4 months. So it paid off. It's a great opportunity.
So your question, did you mean career-wise, or did you mean just like in a company or something? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because I would say, like, career-wise, for me, it was the decision to I could have stayed at some of the big ad agencies and stuck it out and just stayed and stayed and stayed and just got moved up and bigger title and more money. And I was like, no, I want to work at different companies. And so I was bouncing around a lot. And that was definitely risky. I mean, my first job was in Hawaii, and then my copywriter partner and I worked really well together. So then we moved together to Atlanta. Then we got noticed nationally, so we moved together to New York. And then just to leave him. I mean, it was kind of a weird divorce of, like, he's going to go to Boston and I'm going to stay in New York, but I'm going to work at smaller places. So, I mean, just career-wise, those decisions are huge. I mean, those are big decisions. For me to move to Minneapolis after 26 years in Manhattan, that was enormous. That was a big decision. But it's worth it. I think, and I firmly believe there's a rhyme and reason for every decision you make. And it kind of comes back to networking, which is like, if you create a great network of people that you know in the world, in general, not just in industry, that support system will get you where you need to go. I mean, there's certain jobs I never could have completed unless I knew somebody that I had worked with previously. So
I'm going to take it to a personal level, though. When I had been working at Manpower and I was moving up and I was reporting to the vice president of marketing at my last position there, I was child care sharing with my sister. So we each had 2 kids, all under the age of 2, and at the same time. So it was like clowns in a wagon. I'd pour them all into the car, drop them up at her house, go to work, come home. Anyway, loved it, great. But she developed a drug addiction. And we started to discover it by some of the child care issues that were coming up while I was at work. And so she had to go in for rehab. And if you know anything about that, usually it takes 2 or 3 times. So for about 2 years, someone had to watch her kids and my kids and kind of get things straightened out. So I ended up having to quit. And that was a huge risk because I wasn't even sure I wanted kids, and B, I always wanted to be a career person. And that was a really good decision because there are some things that are going to go on for the rest of my life with or without a career, and that includes family. Secondly, that led to I continued to write proposals and grants for the kids' schools. So we won a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation grant and some other ones. So that kept my toe in the water and then got me to circle back into the business world. So there are some risks that are just kind of up here.
sure.
Martha, you keep using me. Who's the other
He's a good guy.
It's my husband,
Okay.
Jeff Kerrigan. That's a good question. Here's your pink socks. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He goes into the, we work out of our home. So he's in the dark, typing away on the computer. And I am like, throw open the windows, turn on the music, get in the car. So you'll work with a lot of different people.
So there's lots of socks.
He has lots of socks.
He doesn't have to wear socks. That's the fun part.
Nice.
So
I assume that was your significant other, but
Yeah.
I do one shameless plug. It's not necessarily about me. About 6 months after I graduated, I was asked if the person was willing to nominate me to join the alumni board, and my response was that I'm too young. Like, well, you're technically an alum, so you can be on the board. I'm like, sure, sign me up. So I've been on the board ever since. So much so they made me their president. So I am the president of the Alumni Association Board of Directors. And I will say, you guys, there's a lot of great opportunities, whether you're a student here on campus, to do some networking there, as well as after you graduate. The second you cross that stage, you are part of the association, and the ability to network and engage back on campus is vast and many. We have our Alumni Awards tonight. We have 300 people coming back to celebrate 12 exceptionally phenomenal people that make me even wonder what the hell am I doing with my life. I'm not out there curing AIDS and saving lives, but hey. So just know that there's always that alumni piece that you will be part of for your eternity. So I welcome you when you get to that stage of your career.
I absolutely. I'm part of our alumni association of the school I went to, as well as the DePaul Ask program. And it gets you, you're doing it for other people, but it really does connect you with amazing people. Like that. So,
Yes.